but sincere gratitude. We were and are still facing a crisis that our community has never faced before. And it reminds me of two things I want to share to start out. One, this sits on my desk, and it says, "It can be done." It's a quote by Ronald Reagan. And it didn't feel like that Sunday at 2 in the morning. And the other thing I want to say is there cannot be enough great things when a team comes together, not great enough things that can be said. It reminds me of a football quote, the team, the team, the team. Anybody know who it is? Bo. Listen, we wouldn't be where, and we are not out of the woods, and you're going to hear some very serious announcements, but we are so blessed to be in the position we are right now because of the people that are behind me and the people that are behind the scenes. They get 100% of the credit. It can be done. So today you're going to hear from some experts and hear from some community leaders that have poured their heart and soul into this issue since, frankly, last Wednesday. We want to share good news, and we want to share important announcements, and we want to take your questions. So we're going to hear from our expert related to the Water Authority. That's Sue Coffey, who is their CEO. Thank you so much, Sue, for your partnership. I'm going to turn it over to you for now.
Sure thing. Thank you so much, Supervisor Barnett, and good morning, everyone. So I'm happy to announce that we have hit a major milestone in the repair of the pipe. The repaired section of pipe is in. So I'm going to talk to you about what that means. So GLWA, we're a wholesaler, right? The communities are our customers. The communities serve you. So this is kind of a two-part coordinated effort, but I want to start with a significant thanks to Cheryl Porter, our incident commander. She is our Chief Operating Officer of Water and Field at GLWA. She's been doing a stellar job. Mr. Pete Fromm, our Director of Water Transmission, who is here today. Good job. Anthony Troy, our Supervisor of Systems Control. He's the one, I called him the Wizard of Oz yesterday. He's managing all those flows that none of us can really see. Pete Bomarito, who is in the field every single minute of every day, and our water ops professionals who are manning the water trucks. So with that, I'm going to move on, but I had to say that because it's important. The community partners are important, and let me explain just a little bit why that is. There are 5 different agencies who are managing your water. You probably don't realize that, but they're all interconnected. So GLWA, we're that wholesaler, right? We bring that water in, we treat it, we push it out to the municipal boundaries. But the communities then pick it up from that location. Some of them have water towers, some of them don't. But they then transmit that water all the way out to the residents and the restaurants and the businesses and all of that. So this coordination, people sometimes say, why does it take so much to coordinate? Imagine 5 different agencies working together. The system's pressurized. So if one of those agencies does something out of turn, it can affect their neighboring community. So it's really important to quarterback. So let me talk a little bit about those communities. Orion Township, you heard from Supervisor Barnett, certainly right at the center of this, but also is Auburn Hills and that northern portion of Auburn Hills. Those 2 communities lost water service from GLWA when we had to isolate that break. But other supporting communities, the city of Pontiac, just a tremendous partner in making sure that we could reroute water to the best that we could to try to get water up there. And then the city of Rochester Hills as well, definitely impacted. But I want to say this, the residents who followed the water restrictions, you are the ones that really made a difference. Sometimes we ask people to do things and they think, oh, this is just for show. No. It made a huge difference. We can watch the pressures, we can see the flows, we have instruments that do that, and you made a huge difference in our ability to manage through this. So let me talk about what it means that our pipe's fixed. So last night at 6 p.m., the pipe was completely fixed, right? We had to go through some certain things. So the new pipe's in, it's connected, it was welded. That was yesterday's, construction activity. That got done. So we began to fill the pipe from GLWA system. It's still isolated, meaning, we had to close valves on either side of that break to stop that water from flowing out of the system and stabilize pressures to the other communities. That's just how piping networks work. So we were able to crack a valve from our system and fill that pipe. And this morning at 2 a.m., the pipe was full. The pipe is at 90 pounds per square inch pressure right now. This is normal pressure for that new section of pipe. The new pipe repair, it's held, right? You have to look at pressure test kind of situation, make sure it's good. So what has to happen now? the communities, those 5 entities have to come together and execute the plan to return the system to normal functioning operations. So the plan's already out there. The sequence of events has already been determined. We had these things, but we couldn't put a time on it until this morning when we were able to say, you know what, the pipe's holding, we're good. So the operators now are all coordinating, and they're going to return, and there's many, many steps by these different players that have to happen in order, and no curveballs. The other thing, we really still need the demands to be low on the system. We absolutely need that. And you'll hear more from the local community partners on what they can do in terms of their particular residents and what does that mean to you if you're a resident, a business, a restaurant, schools, those types of things. That'll be talked about. But that's not for us to communicate because it's not our timeline. I'm communicating GLWA's timeline, and the operators already know. So I wanted to make sure that was important. I don't want to talk about lifting the boil water advisory today because we're not quite there. But I do want to talk about our schedule and where we think we're going to be so that we can return the normal operations for operating pressures to the communities. Because that's the first step, right? This is our ability to make sure people have water in their homes for sanitary services, for their businesses. So the operation sequence, like I said, is already done. The operators are coordinating that right now. They're going to start that right away. It's going to take the better part of a day to undo what we did to deal with the emergency. So our goal right now is to have the pressures restored to the communities in the way that they normally are on Thursday, sometime on Thursday. If we can pull that back, we will. Everybody is working, all hands on deck, no doubt about that. So that's our goal. Boil water advisory has to come be discussed after that. There's an awful lot to do when a water system, and many water systems in this case, lose pressure. To be safe for drinking water, there are a lot of things that have to be done. The system has to be flushed. Each community has to go out and flush their system through hydrants. We do too. So we're flushing right now. We're flushing our system right now. You may, if you're driving around, you might see a flushing hose and there's water coming down the ground. That's part of this system. But they also then will have to flush. You have to push that water through because the pipe is disinfected. We got to make sure that water's clean. And it's got to reach all the areas of the system so everybody's water is healthy. Once that happens, there's sampling that has to occur. I had a good question the other day. Someone asked me, can you just send the samples out to a super high quality lab somewhere and crunch down that time? The answer is no. It's a bacteriological analysis, and those analysis require a certain amount of time for incubation, and we can't crunch that part down. It's crunched down as far as we can crunch it, but to be safe. So that's going to be something later. It's going to be something much later, more like Sunday, Monday perhaps. But I can't give you any sort of definitive timeline on that. If a curveball comes our way, these timelines are going to get pushed out. And like I said, 5 communities coordinate. Now, we know how to execute in emergencies well. The teams are excellent. The operators of these systems in your communities are doing an excellent job coordinating with GLWA. I can't say enough about that. So with that, I'm going to turn this back over to Supervisor Barnett. You're going to hear from the individual communities on how it is that they're going to then be communicating to you and what they're going to be communicating to you. So thank you.
Thank you, Sue. And so, we celebrate Citizens of the Month here in our community, and this month, our Citizen of the Month is unanimously the water tower. Without the water tower, we would have been in a much worse situation instantly. And I will just tell you, I've been in this role for 14 years, and I have not worked very closely with GLWA in that time. We get our water from them. And I've heard the skepticism about all of this, about us, our teams, but I can tell you there's no better organization to work with, the sense of urgency, professionalism, the way this got done. When the governor called me a couple days ago, she said, what can I do? I said, send 100 people, I don't care if they're staring at the pipe in the hole, and send us some nice bathrooms and sign the declaration emergency. And she did. She did those things, so we thank her. But the Great Lakes Water Authority team is phenomenal. It's been talked a lot in the news about how could this ever happen. More to come on that next week, but it's an important discussion we need to have because our infrastructure, water to your toilets and sinks is critical. You can't even imagine living life without it until you can't use it. So that's an important discussion. I wanted to make sure we said that at some point. So a little bit about our team here, our Orion family. They are the best in the business. No disrespect to my colleagues behind me. But they went from issuing building permits, collecting taxes, and registering people to vote, to delivering water handing out at our distribution stations, hand delivering water to residents' doors, homebound seniors, transporting vulnerable seniors out of our assisted and nursing facilities one at a time, getting yelled at a lot, giving hugs, managing shower reservations at our camp that is on a well. They are the heroes. And I'm going to say some other names that are also the heroes that they never have their names said out loud. These are the people that operate these systems. A lot of you have heard about this tower. I can't tell you how many people have called and texted me and said, how many feet are in the tower? The weird text that I'm sending and receiving, did not have on my bingo card. I'm texting 5 in the morning, my director of public services, how many feet? And this morning it was 40, and that's good news because we're almost full. And we wouldn't be there if these emergency connections weren't made where we were, as we've been saying the last few days, getting trickles of water from our neighbors from Pontiac and Auburn Hills. And those folks that have been literally turning on our tower to get a little bit of water, and then Auburn Hills and back and forth, and the sharing of resources, zero selfishness, are Steve Beldante and Jason Diamond from Auburn Hills, and Steve is here. His team has been just absolutely incredible. Zach Earp from WRC on behalf of Pontiac, and Mayor McGinnis, who's a good friend, texted me last night and said, what can Pontiac do? I said, tell Zach, thank you. That's what you can do. Anthony Troy from Great Lakes Water Authority, Susan Nepper and Seth Swanson from OHM, and Pete Fromm, is Pete up here too? I told him on a call this morning I was going to kiss him on the cheek. I've never been part of a system of crisis where people were so calm, collected, and worked together for the betterment of everyone. It was easy for Auburn Hills to say, we need to protect what's ours and maybe turn off our boil water alert sooner, and Rochester Hills and Pontiac. And you know what they did? Gave us everything they could give us. It was absolutely incredible. So where are we at? A couple logistics for Orion residents. You can shower today, military shower. We still are in a crucial situation. As you've heard, the water line is pressurized, but there's a lot of work that needs to happen over the next 2 days before we're back to regular pressure. We said early on, and I think even the first press conference, pressure before clean water. We want life safety systems, fire sprinklers, and toilets to flush and people to take showers before clean drinking water. We will have clean drinking water, but for the foreseeable future, we will have water distribution sites, which just yesterday, we gave away 10,000 gallons to residents through the water buffaloes, and probably at least another 10,000 gallons more through cases of water. I think we've received 7 semis of water in Auburn Hills and Lake Orion, in the village of Lake Orion, and they continue to come today. So residents, don't worry. We will have clean drinking water from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. at all 3 locations until this is over. And if you're interested in helping, if you click on our website, you will see right in your face all of this information, and there's a Sign Up Genius. We have just extended that through Sunday. We're looking for volunteers. If you want to come help us out, we need volunteers to help make that a smooth process. And if you've been through the line, I went and visited them all yesterday. It's easy. You don't even get out of your car. You drive straight through, and people are smiling. It's incredible. We understand you might be creating extra garbage with, maybe throwaway plates and napkins and sanitary items. Waste Management in Orion Township is taking garbage outside of your garbage cans this week only. So if you have additional bags, they normally have to be in a can. They'll take those bags for you, no charge. Please don't renovate your kitchen and put the cabinets out there this week. On schools are closed through Thursday. Our superintendent, Director Heidi Mercer is here, Director of Communications, Mark Snyder. We've been working very closely with schools. They have announced they're closed through Thursday, and they will remain closed through Thursday. Restaurants, last night at 9 p.m., we lifted the order on businesses that don't consume large amounts of water. What that means generally is car washes and manufacturing processes that use a ton of water. Those are still to remain closed. But restaurants can open this morning. We recommend their carry-out only. That is up. Further information on that is going to be coming from the Oakland County Health Department. We're going to hear from them in a moment. There's a call at 1 p.m., a Teams meeting. The link is on our website and will soon be on Auburn Hills and Rochester Hills website for all restaurants affected in the boil water alert area. So northern Auburn Hills, part of Rochester Hills, all of Orion Township in the village. That's at 1 p.m. And Kate Guzman, who I'll introduce in a moment, will be on that call answering questions and giving guidance to restaurants. So if you know a restaurant owner, please ping them and tell them we will record it. It will be posted, I believe, certainly on our website, and I'm sure on Auburn Hills and Rochester Hills website for people to follow up on if they miss it. Let's see, what else? I have a couple more things I'll save for the end. But for now, the most important thing you should know is, and I said this before, we're all tired, but we were panicked. If it didn't come across Sunday, then it worked. We tried to fake you, but we were watching that tower rapidly deplete. And for us, that's life in Orion. And we came here and said, please stop using water. And you did. Sue was right. This would have been 10 times worse if our residents didn't heed the warning and stop showering and stop washing dishes and all these things. So thank you, because you guys get as much credit as all the people that worked here. And then I didn't say his name, but Bill Bassigow and Vince Cola from our team have aged 18 years in 1 week and haven't slept, and they are doing it with a smile. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my friend and colleague, Mayor Eugene Hawkins from Auburn Hills, and then we'll hear from Nathan Mueller, who's the Director of Communications for the City of Rochester Hills. Mayor Hawkins.
Thank you, Supervisor Barnett. What a difference a day makes, right? What a difference a few hours make, actually. We are tremendously grateful, first of all, for Sue, Anthony, Peter, and the entire team at GOWA. They've done a tremendous job working around the clock to get the pipe repaired, to get everything to the point we are today. We are extremely grateful for that. Also, I want to take a moment just to thank the city administration team for the city of Auburn Hills. We've been working around the clock since we got the call. I can't thank them enough. Steve Odante, Jason Demand, our city manager, Tom Tangi, and his entire team, they've been really working around the clock to get this done. And I want to take a second to thank our residents in the city of Auburn Hills. We put out the call to limit the water use. Emergency water use restrictions were placed on the water from the entire city. They answered the call. So thank you, City of Auburn Hills residents. We put the call out, and you certainly answered the call, and that pretty much got us to certainly where we are today and help us get the system to where we are at this point. Our team is currently evaluating the strategies, and it's a rapidly fluid, changing situation. It's going to change all the time, but our team is currently evaluating current status. We want to make sure that it's safe to open. We want to make sure that it's safe to reopen everything and have it to a situation where we were before. So I want to make sure I reiterate that. The emergency use water restrictions, they're still on in the city of Auburn Hills. We want to make sure that we can get the pressure up to where it needs to be to sustain the system. The boil water alert, boil water advisory is still in effect for the northern part of Auburn Hills. We got the city divided up in two zones. Zone 1 is Zone 2. Zone 1 is anything north of Cross Creek and University Drive. That area is still a boil water restriction, boil water advisory. So we're asking those residents that live above University Drive and Cross Creek to continue on the boil water advisory. We want to make sure that it's safe. That simply means that we want you not to drink the water unless you boil it and then wait. So that's for the northern part of Auburn Hills. The southern part of Auburn Hills in Zone 2 still continue on the emergency use water restriction. That simply means don't run your dishwasher, don't run your washing machine, don't run your irrigation system for your water, don't wash your car in the driveway. That continues on. We still want to keep that in place for now. Like Supervisor Barnett said, there will be a notice given out later on today, probably around 1 o'clock, from the Oakland County Health Department about the boil water restriction, the boil water advisory. We want to make sure that's out. And for our restaurants that's in that northern part, again, north of University, if you're a restaurant in that particular area, we've gotten a lot of calls from our restaurants and our businesses. If you're in the northern part of that area and you are a restaurant, we want you to make sure that you are following the guidance of the Oakland County Health Department for that. That's going to be critical for your constituents, your patrons. We want to make sure that's critical. So with that said, I'll just want to thank the residents for answering the call. We couldn't be in this particular situation without you. Thank you, Sue, and your entire team at GOWA. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. And now Chief of Communications, Nathan Mueller from the City of Rochester Hills.
Good morning, everyone. Echoing many of the previous words here, kudos to GLWA, and I think a big kudos to Supervisor Barnett. I mean, your leadership through this and, the videos and the way you've been communicating and the way your passion for your community shows, and I think your residents have followed your lead in that. So I think there's obviously some kudos that belong there as well. Rochester Hills obviously not as severely impacted as Orion, Auburn Hills could have been. We flipped our system. The northwest end of our community still is seeing some lower pressures. We saw it this morning, especially during the showering in the morning and everyone getting ready for work. But we're fortunate. We were able to keep water throughout. We're still in that boil water advisory then area, and we're still asking, much like all the other communities, to restrict water use. We told people to be good neighbors, and people have been great neighbors. People truly have, much like Sue mentioned, we can see the numbers. And when people are doing that, the notice, especially for people in our north end, they were getting a trickle of water, and eventually they started seeing some pressures increase. Also, we stood up last night our water distribution, so we've been hearing as well from many of our community members, as well as from Orion and Auburn Hills, saying, I live closer to this. Absolutely. So ours is at Von Mar, which is in the village of Rochester Hills, 400 North Adams Road. Anyone is welcome. Ours is open exact same times because we don't want to confuse people, so we are 8 a.m. To 7 p.m. as well. So if you're in Orion, you're in Auburn Hills, you're in Rochester Hills, please come to ours as well if it's more convenient for you as well. So again, on our end, we're working alongside GLWA. Like I said, we flipped our system to kind of push water up, but obviously when that is open, we're going to have to kind of switch things back as well. So by no means are we out of the water, but we are so very thankful to work and have community members like this, and to have leaders like Supervisor Barnett, like Mayor Hawkins, Mayor McGinnis in Pontiac, so many others that have truly led through this. We're really lucky to have those neighbors in our community, because this wouldn't be possible if everyone wasn't on the same page. So thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. And then the county has been extremely helpful, specifically the Emergency Management Division, and their manager, Mr. Rob Seeley, is going to give a few comments.
Hello, everybody. On behalf of Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter, thank you for being here today. I'd like to, first of all, thank our municipal partners and the great partners that they have all been. We've been involved since actually last Wednesday when we started with the leak, and because we had prior warning with the leak, we were able to do a lot of things ahead of time. I'll go over that in just a second. Second, I'd like to applaud all the residents and businesses in all the affected areas and the amount of help that they have given to this water system. Restricting water use has been critical in allowing everybody to have enough water to flush toilets and do those sanitary things that they need to do. And that alone has really helped all of the systems in where they're at now. The county itself, because of the early warning, we were able to get an emergency declaration prepared for the county executive in order to send to the governor's office. And we were able to work with all of our respective communities in assisting them in getting their emergency declarations prepared, so that when the water system did fail, we were able to immediately get the county's declaration of emergency to the governor's office, and she quickly signed it. I'd like to also thank the governor's office for all the work that they did in order to get that declaration signed quickly. We also have been working to acquire additional water through many means, some of it purchasing, some of it through donations. And we've been doing that, and we've been working to help long-term care facilities with the evacuation of their residents, working through our medical control authority and other avenues to be able to get them the resources that they need to safely transport their residents to the alternate locations that they had named. Governor Whitner signing her emergency declaration on Sunday really got the ball rolling for us to be able to purchase water and to get a lot of the other things going. And it was really appreciative that she was able to do that in such a quick amount of time. And again, why so quick? Is because we were able to draft that declaration quickly. We were able to get the governor to sign it quickly. As soon as we knew this was happening, we got a hold of our state contacts and got the ball rolling. So I would like to thank all of them as well. Michigan State Police Emergency Management and Homeland Security Division is who we work through during a disaster. They were notified immediately, and they immediately stood up the State Emergency Operations Center and got things rolling so that they could help us as well. So far, we have received 16 truckloads of water at the Oakland County warehouse in 3 days, including today. Emergency Management and Homeland Security Division and our department has worked to get that, along with our Facilities Management Department. Together, we have been working in order to get the water offloaded at our warehouse and out to the communities. We are thankful for the generosity of Convoy of Hope, Kroger, Meyer, Ice Mountain, and General Motors for deliveries, donations that they have made to the Oakland County warehouse, and also DTE for the donation they made directly to the Township of Orion. And also the Michigan State Police Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, they have a private-public partnership group that actually work tirelessly to send messages out to their partners and assist us in getting those donations. So they have been also instrumental in helping with that. We have gotten 10 semi-load trucks worth of water that we purchased from AbsoPure through a state contract. Those, along with all the donated water, is what's going out to the communities right now. In addition, from SMART, we were able to use our SMART and all the connections through SMART to help with the evacuation of the long-term care facilities, and Medical Control Authority and Region 2 North Healthcare also worked with us to get those facilities safely evacuated. 10 drivers assisted with the transportation, 11 buses, and 57 residents were sent via bus. In addition, Mariella at Lake Orion had 2 buses with 22 people that were transported. Orion Manor had 2 buses with 6 people that were transported to Richmond, Michigan. And the villa at Silver Bell was handled by the North Oakland Transportation Authority, and they helped to the evacuation of that facility to their alternate locations. So thank you all for being here, and thank all the communities for all the for working through the emergency management process and making sure that the residents got the water that they need.
Thank you, Rob. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Kate Guzman, who is the Oakland County Health Officer. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. As you can imagine, public health has been engaged in this process from the beginning because we're clearly invested in the health and well-being of our residents. Starting with access to water, we're thinking about basic sanitation and hygiene, core components of public health. And then as we move through the situation, now we're thinking about food safety and water safety. So as Supervisor Barnett mentioned, our sanitarian supervisor in chief that oversee the food program, so these are the restaurant inspectors that you may know, will be hosting a Teams meeting at 1 p.m. today to talk through different scenarios with restaurant owners. We'll be saying, no, it's not okay to use your ice maker. You should empty your whole ice maker out and start fresh when the water is reset. We'll be talking about things like produce. Maybe we're not going to have salads for a couple days. We'll be talking about basic ways to keep the public safe when you're reopening your restaurants. So that will be at 1 p.m. today. I will be here on site at the township offices. I'll stay here so that if people have questions, I can answer them in person. Additionally, I'd like to make sure that the residents at home are thinking about those same pieces of information for water safety and food safety in their own homes. So just like I mentioned restaurants, I will be discouraging salads and fresh foods. Same thing goes for your house. So when we talk about boiling water, it's not just about drinking. And I want to make sure that everyone's thinking about that. So you really are thinking about the ice maker in your refrigerator. So please don't use ice from your refrigerator. Don't take water from your tap and just put it into your Keurig and make a cup of coffee. That needs to be bottled water. If you're making bottles of formula for an infant or even feeding your pet, this is all bottled water or boiled water. So you can easily boil the water, bring it to a rolling boil, that's lots of bubbles for a minute, and then let it cool down and store it. It's a safe way to have safe drinking water or water for use for food preparation. You can wash your hands in that water. Hand sanitizer after washing your hands is a great idea. So make sure you have some hand sanitizer on hand as well. These are the basic ways that we can keep each other safe and hopefully getting back to a normal life as soon as possible. So I will stay for questions as well, and I'll be here at 1 p.m. And with that, I'll turn it back to Supervisor Barnett.
All right. Those are your experts, but there's lots of folks behind me that will be able to answer questions. Just a couple things for me to close. This has been a wild 7 days, but somebody just told me it's been like 3. We're so grateful for the people that keep you safe. You need to give them a high five or a hug when you see our water department, our building department, our fire chief and his team, Ryan Allen and Assistant Chief Pender, our law enforcement partners, at least that led the charge here, was Chief Mark Amundsen from the village of Lake Orion and Lieutenant Zeffening. But their people have been on forced overtime, mandatory staffing, doing really tough jobs, getting yelled at everywhere they go, and we don't give them enough credit. So, reminder, you're boiling water till we tell you you're not, or getting bottled water from us for free. We will stay open with the water distribution locations until you can safely consume the water that comes out of your faucets. We will continue providing regular updates. I'm not sure we'll have another press conference like this, but I've been doing regular 2 or 3 videos a day as I get information, sharing those, and those have been getting out. We will continue that. We want to make sure that there's no question that's unanswered. Thank you for your patience with us, because there's been a lot of questions, and we have not meant to confuse, but we know that some of these things have caused confusion, and we're trying to clear a lot of that up by the end of today. You can take a shower. You can use some water, but again, use sparingly until we tell you that we are fully back on, and we're hopeful that's within a couple days. But again, the boil of water will continue beyond that. And the last thing we always say here, our residents have shown up at all these communities behind me have and do something kind for a neighbor. And we've seen that over and over and over with people extending hoses to their driveways who are on wells and opening their homes to strangers for showers. We're going to follow up with a humanitarian story that will be like nothing else after we catch our breath in a week or two. So with that, we were long, but we tried to provide as much information as we could. We will open up the room for questions for anyone in the room, for anyone behind me. So yes, Mr. Pampin, we'll start with you. Yeah. Normal with pressure, yes. Flushing all toilets and taking not a military shower and watering your grass and gardens. We will tell you that, but yes, we are exponentially ahead of the horrible schedule that we were laid out to, which we wanted. We wanted to tell the residents exactly what the worst case scenario was because we had that precious resource. But yes, that is likely. As Sue mentioned, they are getting us the water we need to our exception, where we accept it at the border of Auburn Hills, but there's a lot of things that need to be undone, a couple days worth of work. All these quick fixes that we were getting water from that need to be undone and valves turned around and things like that. Above my pay grade, but yes, this weekend.
So I'll answer that. So it's a balancing act. You heard me say, so all 4 of the communities are interconnected, and they're interconnected to GLWA. When a community does this, so if Auburn Hills needs to fill their tower, right, there's going to be a pressure drop there. If Orion Township fills their tower, there's a pressure drop that may affect Auburn Hills. So there's no doubt that the Pontiac, in working through Pontiac like that, was super helpful. The most important help was the restriction and use that you all did. There's no doubt about that. But it's balancing. So we do this all the time. You guys don't know we do it. So think of a road system, and if your community blocked off all its roads at its borders, you might need to open one of the 2. It's going to affect all that. It's like that underground. We can see it with pressure sensors, but the reality of that balancing is going to continue. In fact, it happens every single day. We are in an unusual circumstance right now because we rerouted flow differently, starting with having to isolate this break. But we have the right people on it. They're all looking at the pressures. They're calling each other up. They're saying, hey, I see this, I see that. Can you do this? Can you do that? So this is a big part of the behind the scenes piece that you don't see, but we've got that covered. I'm not worried about it. I don't have any concerns.
We did the early math on that, and we think it's about 10,000, roughly, plus or minus meters. That could be houses and businesses. In Orion, it's about 8,000 household meters, and obviously however many people are in the house, so humans, and a couple thousand-ish business meters. Yeah, yes, in Auburn Hills, I don't know.
Auburn Hills was probably about 1,500 to 2,000.
Yes. Well, they didn't, they were just under boil water alert. They weren't under the water restrictions. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, that's a great question. So I was angry at 1:38 on Sunday morning. And then I got educated over the last few days, and it's, listen, a pipe that was supposed to last 100 years failed halfway through its useful life. We're at the end of the line, and I've used this analogy, so if you've heard it, I apologize, but my power flickered on Saturday. It was windy. A tree took out a power line in Orion. I lost power for 5 seconds because DTE was able to see in their system and open up a circuit and close a circuit, and my power's back on. We're at the end of the line in Orion. There's no other place to open up a circuit to get us more water, except if we build these very rudimentary systems that aren't meant to be long-term, which we were able to do in other communities where they're looped. So John James delivered 30 porta potties he donated to our community yesterday. I bent his ear. Congresswoman Slotkin was here delivering water yesterday. We bent her ear. Governor Whitmer called me. I said, we need to talk about this. People need to know. That's the next part of this after we come out of the emergency side of this. Great Lakes Water Authority is not to blame. I'm so impressed with the professionalism and the way their team operates. I've never operated with someone like this. We're at the end of the line. We need investment in our infrastructure. I'm not running for governor, but anybody that says it, I agree. And we need to talk about it because the system, if we don't invest in it, and the problem is no one in our community sees, touches, or feels a water line. You just turn on your faucet and expect water to come out until it doesn't, until your local government says, don't use it. So this is we're going to keep the pressure. I talked to Candace Miller this morning at length. She's a great friend. She's in Macomb, but she said, Chris, this is the opportunity. We need to engage our legislator, the decision makers, the people that fund these things. And so I'm going to work with her. I'm going to work with Sue. Anyone else that's interested, this is something we need to talk about. But I will say this, it's not their fault. So if anyone's looking for me to throw blame, you're not going to get it from me, and I don't think from anybody behind me. Yeah. So, is anybody from Pontiac here? Can't speak for them. We are trying to be in lockstep with Auburn Hills because, as mentioned, we were the ones that had to turn off the water. Auburn Hills, North Auburn Hills, and Orion, and our order for businesses is identical. So we are trying to be in lockstep with them. I know Pontiac is under a boil water alert. I heard maybe it was lifted, so I would seek them for that. No, they're not. So they're not. Thank you. So there you go. Yes.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I couldn't hear it all. So a couple things. We just pulled the pipe out of the hole yesterday. We'll send it off to a lab. The experts will come back and tell us. There are experts in this type of pipe. This is a highly engineered pipe. It shouldn't be breaking like this. We've seen it here. We've seen it elsewhere. We need to understand what is exactly happening and how it is that we're dealing with these pipes. We do have about 80 miles of this pipe in our system. GLWA has 800 miles of transmission main. To replace a mile of pipe like this is $20 million. It's $1.6 billion to just go out and say, oh, this pipe broke prematurely, we're going to replace it all, and it's $1.6 billion we don't have, and we're also a governmental agency. We're a public body corporate. We don't have profit. We are not a profit-making utility. We're like your local government. We're just regional. So if we were to do that, that would come back to you all. So we're trying really hard to be smart about what we do, but to be proactive. But what we're seeing now is that we're going to have more attention on these types of pipes. But we also have 16% of the pipes in that 800 miles that are past their useful life. There has been underinvestment in our aging infrastructure. We've heard it from the American Society of Civil Engineers since the 80s. 40 years later, we are still, and although there was some money that got an influx, we are going to have to invest in our water infrastructure. We all drive over the roads and they drive us nuts, and we have all kinds of good work being done on the roads. The water infrastructure is under the roads, and in many cases, it's older than the roads. And if you all could see it the way that we see it, you'd understand, and it's our job to help you to see it. It's unfortunate that situations like this have to happen to raise that profile, but we're going to keep that profile raised, and we're going to seek everything that we can. But when you hear us talk about GLWA wanting to increase their water charges, understand what we're doing. We're not for profit. We are a very well-organized authority. We have talented people doing this work, and we're here for you. We're public servants, and it's what we do, and it's important. You know, I'll say this from a financial perspective. I appreciate you talking about it, and I'm going to pivot to that just a little so that you know what this really means. GLWA charges on average a third of a penny per gallon to get the water to these municipal boundaries. That means 1 penny, 3 gallons of water. That's what we do. But when we go to get our charge increases, because we say we need, say, 7% earlier this year, we need a 7% increase on that. We had 3.5 hours of public comment saying water's already too expensive. What that means is we can't do the capital programs and accelerate them faster. We'd like to, and we're talented and we're ready. But we need the funding. There's a big challenge with affordability. There are a lot of people who can't afford their water. 100% that's true. It's absolutely true. There's a huge over here side that the system needs. We are caught right in the middle of it. So people like the townships, cities, our local legislators, our federal legislators, we got to come together and figure out a way through this, because I don't want to have to be standing in front of you giving you this bad news. And I'm sure you don't want to be on the other side of it. There's human suffering associated with what's happening. That's real. So I hope that answers your question. It could happen. It could happen. We had a water main break in March down in Novi. Novi was without water, no water for 24 hours. It can happen. So when this happens, that is not typically what we do. I know people don't want to hear that, but I'm not going to, if I want your trust, I just have to tell you the straight. So as a governmental entity, it's not something that we typically do. Sometimes we will partner with local communities to figure out what we might be able to do, but generally speaking, that's not it. So excellent question. So first off, what is the difference between the new pipe and the old pipe? The new pipe is a steel pipe. It's a high-pressure steel pipe, and it's the kind of pipe we would put in for this application today, and it's the best pipe that we can get for this application. What was put in 1975, that was pre-stressed concrete cylinder pipe. So we call it PCCP for short because that's a mouthful. It's a multi-layered pipe, and at that time was the best engineering choice, no doubt about it. But this pipe is degrading. Its material is in the wall thickness. We've seen it in other places faster than what it should. So we're saying, what do we need to do? We need to step up inspections on these pipes. We need to figure out monitoring for these pipes. The pre-stressed concrete cylinder pipe is concrete. There's a steel cylinder, and there's a wire winding on that holds us. This high-pressure pipes, folks, you heard me talk about 90 PSI. We had a 120-inch pipe like this break. It had been nicked by something that was under like 180 pounds per square inch. So this is the standard. There's pipe like this all over the world. And what we're seeing, though, is some of this pipe is degrading at this rapid rate. Now, not all of it, and we don't know what it is, and we can't spend $1.6 billion to go replace it all right now. So the question is, how do you find it? How do you monitor it? How do you get ahead of it? And so we are working those things. So one of the things that we do when we see this kind of pipe is we can dewater the pipe, which you see what happens when we have to dewater the pipe in certain parts of the system. It creates hardship. So we would have to figure out a workaround so people weren't without pressure. You can dewater the pipe and you can put something called a carbon reinforced polymer. So this carbon fiber reinforcement is people go into the pipe and they can trowel it on the pipe, and it can give the pipe another 50 years. That's the kind of good technology we can use today to renew it without having to replace it. It's faster, it's quicker, we can get in, we can get it done, and we can get out.
No, it's a great question. So GLWA will be conducting lots of testing on the water before we all lift the boil water advisories. And so there will be no need to test water in your individual homes because the water will be tested before it arrives to your home. And, but I do want to just take a moment and send anyone who's watching to our website, oakgov.com/health. We have some really great checklists and guidance for when the boil water advisory does lift, because there are some very special steps you need to take with your aerators on your faucets, your filters on your cartridges on your water filters, et cetera. So please visit our oakgov.com/health website. The red banner on the top takes you right to all of our boil water information. Y también para los residentes que hablan español, tenemos recursos en español y pueden poner la página completa en español también.
Anyone else? Any other questions? Okay, I just want to thank again you all for being here covering this important story. Thank you to our residents for their resilience. I can guarantee you we forgot lots of things. Please be patient with us. Please be patient with our partners. Most of these folks haven't really slept. Our first responders, high five, hugs, all of our people. We can do it. This was our Apollo 13. That's what I said at 3 in the morning on Sunday. I'm like, we're going to land our people. That's a horrible analogy. But we're almost landed, and we wouldn't be here without literally everyone's partnership. So this is a great story. This was not anybody's schedule for this week, but hopefully we brought some awareness to a really important issue. And remember, residents, don't water your garden today. See how fast. Maybe we'll do a contest who's taking the fastest showers out there. Make it fun. But we're in a lot better shape than we thought we'd be a couple days ago on Tuesday at noon. With that, we'll conclude our press conference, and the experts will be available if anyone has individual questions. Thank you, everyone.